Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of the MSC Performance podcast with me, Mark Coulson. Today, I'm joined by Luke Rogers and Sonia Klokova. How are we doing, guys?
Hi, guys. I'll start.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm excited to get back to things and work tomorrow. How about you, Luke? How you doing?
Yeah, I sound terrible, but I feel fine. Still feel like sound a little bit bunged up, but overall I feel pretty good. So yeah, same. Excited to get back to training. Excited to get back to working, and yeah, get back to normality as we know it in 2021.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been hit by the COVID. Yeah, myself and Luke came up with a positive test about 10 days ago, and been struggling a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as some people have had it, I think, for both of us. And then Sonia's not had it because, superhuman immune system and, the Russian defense system in place. And hasn't caught it, but is obviously isolating as one of the team. So been a bit of a struggle down the gym to keep things covered, but we've managed it. Great support and feedback from the members, and we've even had members chipping in, covering the gym for some hours and cleaning the gym and keeping on top of it, which has been, the support's been really, really overwhelming, as it has been for, throughout the whole of the COVID situation over the last 18 months. Has been mega support by, from the members, and like in the last week has been absolutely incredible. So thank you to all our awesome members. But yeah, I think for me, same as Luke, I probably don't sound 100%, but I think feel 100% and ready to get back amongst it. So how's your kind of training been affected, Luke, in the last week or so, with obviously comps coming up and stuff like that?
Well, safe to say, Mark, it's been pretty affected from having to isolate in my flat. Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? I've got the World Championships hopefully in 8 weeks, and having to have a week off is less than ideal. But we can adapt and we can overcome it. So I've been trying to do some non-negotiable stuff at home. So trying to keep moving as best as I can, trying to do some resemblance of exercise in the flat. So just some general walking, some movement kind of prep stuff. So some low level ISO holds, which obviously not going to do anything to get me stronger, but I'm just hoping that when I come in tomorrow to train, my body feels a lot better than if I'd have just lied down or sat down all day, which obviously would have led to feeling terrible. So it's not been ideal, but I've been trying to eat well, trying to sleep a lot, and yeah, trying to do a little bit of movement here and there. So yeah, it's less than ideal, but it's still 7 weeks away. And I shared a post last week about just changing my mindset now into it. And I think sometimes as you get further into whatever sport you do, you lose the fun aspect of it. And I don't want to do that now. And especially, I don't want to put undue pressure on it to be like, well, I've just had a week off, I've had COVID, I need to be 100% for the World Champs, which might happen, it might not, but I just want to go and enjoy it now. And I want to enjoy the prep for it. I want to enjoy the actual environment and just enjoy actually being in Sweden. So I'm trying not to put too much pressure on it now. I'm going to enjoy it, still train hard, do everything I normally would do, but just no pressure. And yeah, I'm trying to just relax and enjoy it now.
Yeah,
because it's out of our control, man. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's happened, doesn't it? And yeah, I think that's probably the best way to respond to it is to just be appreciative of of where you're at and the opportunity that's coming up, and like you say, just enjoy it. And I think sports psychologists will tell you the majority of research out there is that athletes that are of the mindset of enjoying themselves, enjoying the training, the competitive aspects, the competition days, that slightly more kind of relaxed feeling about things produces better results a lot of the time, keeping the anxiety levels down. Obviously still got to get that right level of arousal and type of anxiety, but I know from a team sport point of view, and even working with individual sport athletes and things like that, from experience, the ones who are a bit more relaxed about things and enjoying themselves, generally get the better results.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a good way to look at it. There's the psychological aspects interesting. Like you can like throw your toys out the pram and be like, I've had all this build up and now this has happened, and it's the same as anything in life, isn't it? Like you can, things happen. It's how you react, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think like, it's obviously it's not an ideal thing that's happened. It's a negative thing that's happened, but like say control the controllables is, this situation is out of our control. What do you do to respond to it? Like, and getting stressed and trying to double up on training and come back too quick and push it too hard is just going to have a compound effect. Whereas like say going back, enjoying it, banking on, all of the training that you've done for however many years, maintaining a bit of stimulus this week as best as you can, and then going in and actually just like, putting a bit less pressure on yourself. I'm sure you'll come back and, put in a great performance. Yeah.
Exactly. There's loads of time. Like you said, in the grand scheme of COVID, me having to have a week off training compared to what other people have had to go through is, it's not a lot, is it? So ultimately, I want to do the best I can, but there's I definitely don't want to rush back and then put myself in a position where, as well, like after a week's off training, trying to double up on your sessions is a horrible idea for anyone. And I've done it before. Where I've tried to cram training before and after. I've made the mistakes, and you just feel worse for it. And then if you try and do 2 weeks worth of training, I missed 3 sessions last week. I had to do the 3 sessions this week. That's 7 sessions in 6 days. Like none of them are going to go well after the first session. No. Like it doesn't matter how well you plan it. You can't go from 4 sessions a week to 7 without any kind of detrimental effect. So you got to have the pros and cons, and it's just not going to happen. So
cutting your losses and and cracking on.
And just adapting the timeline slightly in the kind of the mesocycle, which was meant to have a deload in a week's time, which obviously won't be a deload now. We've got nothing to deload from. So just adapting the timeline and reacting to it, and getting as much out of it as you can. You were meant to have your first game on the weekend as well, weren't you? Coming up, sorry.
So like the boys had their first game on Saturday, just gone. So obviously was due to play in that, and had to miss out, which is frustrating after 18 months of no games. Very frustrating. But all things being well, I'll be back for this Saturday. So I've got to miss training tonight. It's my last day of isolation, and then I'll train on Thursday and then play Saturday, all things being well. Whether it'll be a full game or not, given the circumstances, I don't know. But just to get some sort of run out will be good. Again, similar to yourself, like it's far from ideal. I've had obviously this whole COVID period, and then not playing for a long time. Gym's opening back up in April. It's actually a much longer off season and pre-season than I've ever had before, ever. Normally it's like 2 to 4 weeks off at the end, and then for off season, then you're back into pre-season and running 3 times a week, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I've had summers where I've had like knee up, I've had the family stuff, and like missed like certain chunks of pre-season. So I was quite excited to have had a amazing chunk of pre-season under my belt, and like feeling real fired up to get going. But obviously this is a bit again, it's a little bit of a setback, but it depends how you react to it. I think similar to yourself, I've done what I can. Like some of my speed stuff, I've been able to, to keep up. Like I've got a little bit of outdoor space, so like my plyo stuff, my jump stuff, things like that. Like strength wise, not ideal, but again, like isometrics and things like that. Like after the first 2 or 3 days, when my average step count was about 1,000 steps a day, after the first 2 or 3 days, like that was a goal to get that back up to 10,000-12,000 a day, which I've done. So it's I say like just how you react to it, and like I think if I don't try and make up too much for what I've missed in the last week and stay pretty relaxed about it, like the game on Saturday and for the next few weeks are pre-season games, so I can use these to get myself fit for September. The first league game's 4th of September, so it's not like if I'm not at absolute peak, you know, on Saturday,
It's fine. Yeah.
it's no dramas. I use it, try and get, you know, an hour's worth of game time in, and then got a game on the Friday night and then the Thursday night the week after. So there's still time to make up for what's happened. But I think like gym wise or training wise, not trying to like, you know, if I come back in the gym tomorrow, not thinking, right, I've got to do, you know, a few mad sessions, you know, to make up for it, and then play Saturday and I've got to play a full 80 minutes and I've got to be 100%. Like, just be a bit sensible, use the next few weeks to get ready, really.
Definitely.
Not overdo it. So very similar strategy to yourself, really. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, look forward to a game of rugby. It's been a while. It's mad. Yeah, it's mad. It's exciting. Very exciting. So.
I'm looking forward to coming and watch, mate.
But it's, you know, this, it's going to be a good season. And this Saturday's a home game if anyone's listening and is around and fancies a couple of pints and watching a game of rugby. I've got a home game against Leicester, so it is a friendly, but it'll be a good game, I'm sure. So yeah, what about you, Sonia? How's you know, obviously someone who likes to train high frequency and, you know, training
high volume, high intensity, high frequency.
Yeah.
How have you found it? Obviously very frustrating, I'd imagine.
Yes and no. Literally, as you said, like, it's how you react to it. So, you know, like at the end of the day, we knew it's 10 days. So it wasn't like before when kind of didn't have the end date. So no, I wasn't like freaking out. My initial idea was getting back to some home workouts, which I kind of did. But obviously with the injury I've been dealing with, it wasn't probably the same as in lockdown. So I had to adapt them slightly, but like I wasn't too worried about it. Like, get some exercise in, maybe spend more time on what I actually have to do in a gym, like working more around my hip, my knee, adductor and stuff. So no, I just chipped some work in, maybe once, twice a day. Yes, because obviously keeping the frequency as high as you can. But no, some people were asking me if I'm going to be like lending an equipment or buying a kit. So no, I wasn't too worried about this. 10 days is a long time, but obviously tomorrow we're coming back. So yeah, it's nearly done. I have in 2 weeks, like a small competition at uni, because I'm going back, starting again with induction in London. And we have like an annual competition amongst all students. If you follow or if you know the coach Dan John, he will be there. So that's very exciting times, which I'm really, really excited for. That's why I'm actually going to compete as well. Normally I probably wouldn't, but this comp I'm not really taking seriously. I'm going to train it. I'm going to treat it like a higher intensity session, probably see how it goes. So in those 2 weeks now from tomorrow, I'm just gonna easily go back to Oli Lift and then see how it goes on Friday, but I'm not gonna be competing, like, you know, trying.
Is it a weightlifting competition? Or?
Yes, it's a weightlifting competition.
Yeah.
Which is great. And, you know, like, yes, obviously I've been injured, but I've been training back to Oli Lift probably around a month or two. So I don't see a reason why I wouldn't do a small competition. I won't push it too much, but I think it will be fine. So I'm excited because obviously I kind of want to get back to it. So this might be a good start, I think.
Definitely.
Cool.
Sounds like a good place to start, where like maybe you don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Well, just literally same approach, like Luke, not putting too much pressure on you, treating it like a training session. And just basically carry on back to the plan, not trying to make up for the lost sessions. That's not smart and that's not going to do any good. We all know that. Like, you just now stick to your plan or plan your things. That's pretty much it. So yeah, we've been less active, obviously, but that just confirms that like life happens.
I think it's perspective, isn't it? I think like. You know, like Luke said, like over the grand scheme of things, to be off for 10 days, you know, with COVID compared to like, you know, what's happened to a lot of people and stuff. And how badly they've been affected is, you know, it's not the end of the world, is it? And I think with like, you know, for us personally, I think with like, you know, the training background we've got and stimulus we've got, like, you know, to miss a week, 10 days, not ideal in terms of the short-term competition aspect, perhaps, but in terms of like long-term over the course of, you know, years and, you know, your training lifespan, it's not the end of the world, is it? Like, you know, probably all missed a week at some point with flu and, you know, things like that, you know, cold flu, etc., or an injury. So it's, you know, it's probably not the end of the world, like, you know, in the
Oh, exactly. If you're looking at the bigger picture, you know that if you train for years, this is not gonna mess up with you that much. Obviously, Luke's been unfortunate having a really important comp, but fair play to the approach he's taking towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could have been when it's 3 weeks out or 4 weeks or 2 weeks out.
Exactly, man. You know? Exactly. So
there's still plenty of time for a good block, isn't there?
How many weeks is it out now?
7, I think. It's 7 on 7 to Thursday, 7 for Thursday.
I think.
Yeah. So exactly, like the way it's going through Birmingham at the minute, like, it's definitely going to happen at some point to us. So I'd much rather it be 7 weeks out or 8 weeks out than it would be 3 weeks out, where it'd be a really tough one to swallow. So yeah.
I think that's still quite like a good period of time to kind of.
Oh man, yeah, it's great. Yeah. I've still got at least one more block, and yeah. So it's all good.
Going back to your competition, Sonia, like with individual athletes like powerlifters and weightlifters and stuff, do you guys both, you know, think there's big merit at the moment for just getting a comp in for a lot of people? Like, you know, just a different, even if you're not, like you mentioned yourself, you're not probably going to be going in at 100%, but just to get a feel for the day and things like that. It's always been very different for me because, you know, traditionally with like rugby, there's a game every Saturday. So like, you keep your kind of comp sharpness, if you like, pretty much throughout the whole year. Whereas with weightlifting and powerlifting, it can be quarterly, it can be, you know, 12, 16 weeks, like, you know, sometimes longer, obviously, for comps. They're so infrequent in comparison. Like, is there, you know, are we seeing like people turning up, doing comps and like completely messing up because they're just not comp sharp, comp ready? Do we see merit in like just getting a comp done, even if it's a Mickey Mouse comp, to just get on the platform and listen to the, you know, commands and whatnot?
To be fair, like I'll start, Luke, if you don't mind. I'll be probably quick.
We're all friends here, Sonia. We're all friends here.
I think that like if you're within the circle, you just probably enjoy coming to competition like venue, because obviously there's many people meeting up, etc. What I remember, what Luke was saying from his last comp, that they actually weren't still allowed in, which I found a bit weird. But then the last one was last Sunday, the weightlifting one, and it just ran pretty much as it always did. And to be fair, I don't know if people are desperate to get the comp in, because many people kept compete online, like virtual, which I think like fair play to them, because that for me is taking the competition element from it, if it's virtual, if you just send your list. But for me, let's say that last Sunday kind of gave me a little trigger to potentially compete more this year myself. So for me, it was like a little bust. I don't know if this is answering the question you've had, but I don't feel like people are too pushed just to get something in. For me, I don't know. How about you, Luke?
I'm a massive believer in trying to get a competition in fairly early. It's what I did and made a lot of mistakes. But like I look at like 2 examples is, so my client Andrew just won the British bench press champs this weekend. Really good lifter. He's done 3 weight cuts this year now for 2 different cuts for this year, and he's got a 3rd one coming up for the British. Like a lot of comps in short succession. But like the first time he ever done a cut, like he was an absolute nervous wreck, like worrying about like what his weight is. And you see this where like there's a competition on the weekend for the West Mids, and I've got a new girl who's 300 grams over her weight category, and she's like, Luke, what happens if I don't make weight? And it's like 300 grams. So I know that you're going to make weight. But she's so nervous about it that like, it almost takes away then from the actual training, the enjoyment. The more times that you do these competitions, the more times you realize these little things, and the confidence that you have in like your approach to it just gets better every time. So if I'm 3 kilos over now a week out, I'm not panicking at all because I've done it fucking 20 times now. So I know that I'm going to make weight. Or this person's done one competition ever. This is the first time trying to cut, and she's 63.3 kilo, and she's really nervous. She's got a week to drop 300 grams. Like it's so easy, but she's nervous because she hasn't done it. So like these little things and like the little mistakes and the nerves you get when you come to stage, they just get better every single time you do a competition. So I think if you're looking to not just be a flash in the pan and just do one competition, which is absolutely fine if you just want to, knock that off your bucket list. But if you want to be a powerlifter or weightlifter, I recommend getting a competition really early, just so that you get more comfortable with the actual process of getting ready for competition, actually peaking, getting your weight where it needs to be, and then just the general day-to-day running. I don't even think about it anymore. Like at one point, I'd check my bag like 10 times. I'd be like on edge the day before. Now I just know everything's going on. It's really straightforward. So I definitely think just getting 1 or 2 under your belt straight away, when there's less pressure, you're just starting out, is a good thing to do. And like I said, if you make mistakes your first ever comp, you are probably going to make something. The next one you won't make it. And then kind of when you're 100% ready to then be competitive, you've already made the mistakes. You're not going to make them again. So I'm a massive believer in getting a competition done early. Yeah. Obviously, everyone has to kind of make their own decisions. But like Sinead from MSC, she's been training for about 3 months and she's competing on the weekend. And she's just been isolating as well. And I love her mentality into it because she's had to isolate. She comes out Thursday. And like, yeah, it's 2 weeks out from comp. She's just had 10 days off and she's still competing on Saturday. And like, there's no pressure for her. Yeah. She's had COVID. She's been powerlifting 3 months, but she's getting her first comp out the way, nipped. And then the next time she comes, COVID won't be around maybe, and she'll be able to, push on and get a good result. And she just won't be as nervous.
Just get in there, making mistakes, and learn from them, isn't it? And that's it. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to learn, isn't it? Is getting in there, making those mistakes, having those little, like say, I remember you 8-10 years ago, like being a couple of kilos over, a week before or a few days before, and there was a bit of panic, and because it's you probably in the back of your mind think you're going to be all right, and know you are, but like because it's new, that it's unknown, and it's like you can be day before, like you say, 300 grams over, and like people are panicking because it's a new thing. Whereas if you've done it 6 times, 8 times, 10 times,
it works every time.
It works, and you're a lot calmer, and obviously performance is going to be better. So that's probably one of the takeaways for anyone who's kind of new into powerlifting and weightlifting is like just get those comps in early, I guess. And
another thing that happens on the flip to that is that like people that put off they put off doing a competition and say I'm going to wait till I get to this certain number or blah blah blah, and then they get so anxious about it all, and they just create this like thing that's not actually there, where they don't think they're ready to do a competition, but they are, and they just build it up to be something that it's not. And then they spend forever being just anxious about being on competition and never being ready. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I mean, at weightlifting competitions, the level varies so much. You'll be like someone there that's like on the cusp of being like a national level lifter, down to I was going to say Sue, but that's your wife's name as well, to Margaret, who's weightlifted for 3 months and all of a sudden just wants to do it. Like the level is so varied, and it's the same at powerlifting. Like no one would be out of place. And even if you were the lowest level person there, like it's still quite a supportive environment. But I think people, if they put it off so long, just become so nervous about the whole situation.
They're both very inclusive sports.
Yeah.
To be honest, like having had comps at MSC and obviously been to comps and stuff, like for both sports, and for nobody's ever going to sort of judge the level you're at.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. If you're turning up as a beginner and you've got a good attitude, and everybody's been there, everybody who's more experienced, yourself, like you've been there, whereas your first comp and you're a bit nervous and you're not quite sure on your equipment, your timings, everyone who's been at any level has always had that first comp, that second comp, where they were where you're at now, So I think something to consider is like, if you're thinking about doing comps and stuff, like you know, yeah, there's going to be better lifters than you. There's going to be more experienced lifters, but everybody's got to start somewhere. And like you say, I think we've seen it before with, you know, a couple of individuals like where, yeah, they leave it so long and they'll you know, they want to be at national level before they step on the platform. And it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that at all. You got to get in, do your comps, and then that's you know, you learn from that, not just the mistakes you make on the day, but like just the whole experience. You've got those numbers then to work from. You go back into your training block, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
I always think when people say that as well, it's like chasing that like eternal, I don't know, like validation or whatnot. But it's like, if you are waiting to get to national level and then you get to national level, then you look at the national level lifters that are then 20% better than you. And then you get to that level, then you're looking at the international, and it's that team never satisfied thing where like you're thinking, I'll be a national level lifter at divisionals. But when you're a national lifter, you're at national level and you're always just looking up a level, and it's just, yeah, people are never quite satisfied then. And I think, again, you're just chasing until you're the best in the world and then you never compete.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with attitude, you're never going to win, are you? You're never going to get the
You're never going to be happy
from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, you know, reality is, apart from one person in the world, like, there's going to be someone better than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, like, that's something, yeah, that you got to look at your own performance and own progression, haven't you?
I'm super glad I decided to compete. Like, I decided to powerlift in December, and then I competed in February, and I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. I didn't know what a flight was. I didn't know anything. I never squatted without a mirror, and I'm so glad I did it. And it was just, yeah, it was I had Larb handling me. So he never done a powerlifting comp in his life. He came down to handle me. I'm super glad I did that. And yeah, just set us up then for powerlifting life. Yeah, if you can compete with Larb handling you, you can do anything. So, yeah.
Train hard and live easy.
There you go.
I was gonna say to this that, like, as you're saying that get the first one in, like, just get it in. As you said, you didn't even know what's going on. Like what I did with Manuel for his first weightlifting comp. Like he's obviously light, but he still competed in a higher weight class because like he would be about to cut like 3 to 4 kilos, which is you know, 3 I think which is easy, but like there was no need for doing it. Like you just don't need this on your very first comp. Like, you know, like he was so stressed that like he don't even know what's going on. Like he didn't even know that when he finished his third snatch, I was like, okay, we're done. And he was like, I want to go again. It was so cute, but like there is no more attempts, you know, like, and the last thing you need is to be cutting weight, which you don't know how you're going to cope with, like how it's going to impact you, how you're going to feel. Just go with everything you trained, ready. And yeah, so I think from this point of view, getting the first thing done, you're never going to be super prepared, and you need to do these things which will prepare you.
That's really good that they listen, because the amount of people that like, everyone says don't cut weight for your first comp. Like literally anyone that's experienced says don't cut, and everyone thinks they're the exception to that rule. Like everyone knows, that's for everyone but not me, and everyone does it. And every single person advises not to cut weight, and they still do it. And like you said, the stress becomes less about like the lifting, which is stressful enough. But I mean, like, you know, Manuel's got, you know, good technique, so like he knows he can lift to standards. But if all of a sudden he's cutting weight, it becomes more about the anxiety of actually getting in the competition versus just doing the competition, which is stressful enough. So yeah, everyone says don't cut, and everyone doesn't listen. So I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I massively agree with that. Like, I just think, yeah, like your first comp or second comp, like, it's the last thing you should be worried about is cutting weight. You know, you've got a lot to think about. There's a lot of nerves anyway. Like, you know, can you transfer that training onto the platform on the day? You know, your timings, you know, getting your food right, getting your tapering right, etc., etc. Like, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to lose, 3 kilos or 4 kilos. Like,
that's that deficit as well until your last weeks of training.
Why?
You're not going to be feeling good
on your first comp. Like, you know,
there's other thing to focus on.
Where exactly. You're not going to rock up first comp and, you know, qualify for the Worlds or the Olympics or whatever, are you? So like, there's no point going for that like category. You might not even know what your best category is at the moment. Like for Manuel, it might be that you decide to move him up.
He's got to be a super,
exactly.
he's about 6'5", isn't he?
Well, he's 6'5" and 57
81
kilos.
kilos.
You know, you might want to move him up. But no, seriously, like you do a comp or two, and then you know, you might realise actually for this guy, like, you know, why are we cutting? Let's put a bit of size, and you know, maybe, you know, you feel like you can't get any stronger at the current weight he's at, you know, or whatever. Plenty of time to
I think you need
something.
to try it, because I think Luke also tried different categories now at the beginning.
Yeah,
I remember Luke going up to 83. That was something special. I still got, there was that one picture in there that you're not too fond of. It shows you in all your glory at 83 kilos.
But on the flip side as well, like there's competitions where like if they're not a massive priority, well, I just won't cut for them. Like I've done a few comps and weighed in at like 77, just because again, avoid the stress of it. It's not fun, man. Like it's not fun cutting weight. So if I could avoid doing it, I would absolutely avoid it. So there's comps where I don't need to make weight, I won't make weight, and I just enjoy the actual training. Because you talk about like that last couple of weeks of training, which is your hardest. If you got to do it in a small surplus or at least maintenance versus doing it in a deficit, and be mindful of your steps, it's such a more advantageous position to be kind of eating to fuel the sessions versus keeping an eye on your weight and trying to drop 500 grams in that week as well. So much more advantageous.
You know, it was so like for me, it was so weird when we did that comp and he was literally like eating full breakfast before weighting, which like I've never done that. Like obviously, first thing you want to weight fast. So it just.
For the super training competition, so I was 1.5 kilos over in the morning. So I was having a hot shower. I look an absolute mess, like passed out. Naz had to drive me to the comp because didn't feel too good. And then the day after, Chalkley was competing. He's a 105 who weighs about 100. We went for pancakes. He had 2 breakfasts. He had a sandwich beforehand. He fucking weighed in his clothes. I was like, man, this is powerlifting. Like, what am I doing, man? Like, if I weren't competitive, I'd go up to 83 and just enjoy myself. Like, he was having a great time.
Yeah, sounds like one of my.
But why would you not do that? Why would you not do it though? If you could, like, of course you would.
Absolutely. Round off then. You know, seems like a good place to round off. Would you have any tips? You know, Sonia, for anyone going in for their first weightlifting comp? Obviously, spoke about not worrying too much about weight categories. Is there anything else that you think would benefit people if they're thinking about competing for the first time?
I think if they've like been really consistent with the prep and like they did all the work prior to the competition, there already shouldn't be any stress, because obviously you've trained, you've done all the work, and the competition is just kind of to test what you kind of can achieve now at your peak point. So probably like trusting the process. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's just that one, like trust what you've trained for if you've done all the hard work. And if it's your very first one, it will be probably more like, let's enjoy it. Like, yes, try your best, but enjoy the event, because the first comp is something you will always remember. And as Luke said, that like there will be awkward moments and there will be mistakes. You might forget, I don't know, a knee sleeve or a shoe, I don't know, something like this. Like, it will just happen.
I hate it when it's your first comp and you come out with just that one shoe on. I hate it when that happens. So when you're getting ready to squat and you've only got one shoe on, I hate it when that happens.
That was just an example, but
no, I know what you mean.
I left that darn shoe in the locker.
Going with the approach of let's enjoy.
Lift that, stop. You've only got one shoe on. Go and put your other shoe on. You've got 30 seconds.
Squatting like this.
So enjoy yourself, because the day should be about you. So go with a different approach of like, don't really look at what everyone else is lifting, which is something what I would always advise. Like, never really check what your competitors do, even though obviously that's competitive, but that should be maybe for your coach to take care of when it comes to like, the timings and changing the weights. So that should be probably the biggest one.
I'd say comparing yourself against, someone next to you, you're thinking, shit, you know, same weight category, maybe
Yeah.
even the same age, maybe whatever, but like this is their 10th comp and this is your first.
I personally can't even.
And on their
watch
first, they were doing maybe less than you know.
Yeah, don't watch anyone else lifting. Don't think like, oh my god, that was mega. Like, well, focus on your lifts, know the numbers. Yeah, with openers, open on something which you're very comfortable with. Like, open the game sharp. Like, you don't want to miss your first lift. I think I've never missed my first one. I know it happens. It always can happen, but I don't think it puts you in the right setup or, you know, like mindset of the comp. Like, you want to open, probably go first, second, and PB on your third one. That usually is my approach. But yeah.
Do you know what the average like good lifters in weightlifting go? I know it's very different to powerlifting. Like powerlifting, the best lifters in the world go 7 for 9 on average. Do you know what the best kind of weightlifters do? They kind of go 5 for 6? Well, I know it's different because there's a bit more kind of less room for error, but is there like a kind of number that's like that's the standard of attempts made?
Fair,
I know you're aiming for 6.
I would only guess, but from like usually what you see, I would say it's probably like 4 to 5. Like
4.
Yeah. The top ones.
Cool.
Like you're not likely to miss. Like they know what they're doing usually. So
Yeah,
cool.
Like Chinese, for example, like they, you know, they average about 2 from 6 or 3 from 6. Like they don't care. They just go like just miss, big jump, you know, different approaches. But I think four's about average.
Yeah. Cool.
What about yourself, Luke, in powerlifting point of view, like someone going for the first comp?
Yeah, I was going to say what Sonia said about opening light, just to get like an absolute banker, settle the nerves, and then you kind of take your jumps from there. I know what Sonia's saying about not comparing to other people, but we always recommend to people to watch the more advanced people in that competition, just to see kind of what they're doing, what they do differently in terms of like their timings, like how they're kind of focused. You can take a lot about what people are doing that are slightly more advantageous. So you shouldn't be comparing yourself to them, but you should be looking at thinking, what are they doing that I could take on board that could help me with my lifting? And I remember my first competition, I went down and there was a couple of guys wearing GB tracksuits and I was obsessed with them. And I just watched them the whole competition, just like what they would do, their mannerisms, what they were doing between lifts. Because even then, like what do you do for 10 minutes in between lifts when you're at a comp if you're never done? You don't know. Like they go off to a separate side of the room and they're just in their own little zone. And I love that. So I like watching people and taking on board what the more advanced people do and kind of learn about their timings, learning about their kind of mentality going into the session. Everyone's individual, but I do like to see what they're kind of doing. So yeah, open light, learn from the more advanced people. And then I think if beforehand you can settle your nerves by going to like a powerlifting or a weightlifting club and just having someone look over your technique just to make sure that you practice the commands, you're lifting exactly to the standards you need. If not a powerlifting coach, then just someone that's competed before or someone that really knows the rules, just to make sure that you've got absolutely nothing to worry about when you get to competition. Because you see people again that compete that have obviously not read the rule book. And the rule book's like 5 pages, man. Like, read the rule book if you're going to compete. That's another one. So just make sure that you know everything that you're doing and meant to be doing on the day. The rule book is super short, man. Like you could read that in less than an hour and then you just learn so much from it. So I think make sure that you're lifting to the standards you need to and just make sure you've read the rule book so that there's no surprises on the day.
Happy. Boom. Lovely stuff. Nice way to round off there. I think hopefully it's given our viewers / listeners good idea as to what we've been up to and how we've coped with keeping ourselves sane and fit during the COVID period. So if anyone's in isolation, hopefully they've picked up a few tips from that, and then kind of went nicely into some powerlifting, weightlifting stuff there in terms of prepping for comps and your first time comp and things like that. I think if you're thinking about doing it, just get out there and do it. Read the rule book, go and see a coach, make sure the rule book's a big one, isn't it? Like Christ, I mean, there must be nothing more frustrating than like missing the commands or like not really knowing the commands, and it's like what a waste. What a waste that would be. Like you
put the effort into join and spend the money to do it, but you've not read the rule book.
Yeah, it's
Like,
just
come on, man.
like, and just give it a go. I think is probably the answer.
Enjoy
So
it.
cool. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us.
Just before we go, if anyone finds a Reebok Legacy weightlifting shoe, Sonia's actually lost one.
Nice. Thanks.
Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Mark.
Cool.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you down at MSC very soon. Cheers.